All right, so where am I? What's going on? Why am I here? What are we talking about? Who are you?
Well, I am Javed Sikander. I'm the Director of Industry Architecture in DPE.
Okay.
We create architectures in the context of industries like manufacturing, retail, and financial services.
Okay.
Well, you're here because recently we announced something called Office Business Application Reference Architecture Pack for Supply Chain Management.
There's a marketing term for you. Okay.
So that's
So what the heck is that?
Well, it's a complete example, end-to-end example of how to build an Office business application using the 2007 Office system. So what it does is it takes an example from a multi-tier supply chain where a retailer needs to collaborate with its manufacturer, who again needs to collaborate with a tier 1 supplier to fulfill the orders for the retailers. And we show how all this can be done with the 2007 Office system.
Okay.
So what we built is essentially a reference architecture for what we call an OBA, Office Business Application.
OBA.
OBA. That's a new term.
It's a new term, an OBA.
Yeah.
So is an OBA, I mean, how do I, as a developer, what does it mean to me? I mean, do you supply Visual Studio add-ins, Visual Studio's code spit?
Sure.
What's going on?
So first, OBA is it's a new class of applications that we expect our customers or partners to build. In fact, when I say customers, these are IT folks and technical folks and architects in customer organizations to build. And this Office Business Application, these new class of applications essentially extend a line of business application to the user level. So let me explain that a little bit. When you look at a typical line of business application like your ERP or CRM or SCM, these are all transactional systems. These are meant for a very few in the company. They have clunky interfaces. They are hardly customized to the users, right? While the users are familiar with tools like Office on their desktop and the client side, where they are very used to the power and familiarity with these tools. So what the users want to see is some sort of a combination of these two, where they can do heavyweight stuff on the line of business application side, but using some of their familiar interfaces. So OBA is this concept where you can extend your line of business applications with powerful and familiar interfaces provided by Microsoft Office. And so with the 2007 Office system, what we are putting out there is a set of clients, tools, servers that will elevate Office into an application platform, if you will, to build these new breed of applications.
These new OBA apps.
New OBA apps, right? And you asked a question about developer, what it means for them. Well, they have tools within Visual Studio. So the Visual Studio tools for Office, VSTO, has features that the developers can use and extend the UI for UI extensibility, so they can create custom task panes, they can extend the toolbars and whatnot, so they can play with the clients. But also within Visual Studio, you have tools that will allow them to create workflows, to create activities within workflows, to create business rules, and then attach those workflows to documents in SharePoint libraries, in document libraries and forms libraries. So there's a very good, very powerful developer story with the Office 2007 system.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to make the distinction between OBA being a distinct set of tools, right?
Yeah.
And then you have what developers already have in VSTO.
Yeah.
But what do these tools look like for developers? I guess the OBA pack. So I guess I'm still trying to figure that out in my mind.
So with what we have released here is a reference architecture that will show developers how to use some of the tools that are available in 2007 Office system to build a complete Office Business Application. How do I use my business data catalog and create these entities that can pull data from a line of business applications and make it available to my applications. So in this particular example, what we do is, if I get into the scenario a little bit,
please.
The retailer, the merchandise planner, let's say at the retailer, at the beginning of a sales season, does some sort of forecast based on historical demand and whatnot, seasonality and all that, and creates a forecast for that season. Mm-hmm. And he or she sends that forecast over to the manufacturer, so that now the manufacturer can, based on that forecast, plan the production of the goods. So this happens at a strategic level. Well, if you look at traditionally how this happens is people go and do this analysis and then demand planning systems and whatnot, and they do all that work. At the end of the day, they create a set of Excel spreadsheets, and that is what they use to analyze and make decisions. Mm-hmm. And then once they solidify the forecast, then they send these spreadsheets over email most of the time. Mm-hmm. to the manufacturer. It's a very inefficient and insecure way of transferring information from this one place to another. So with the Office 2007 system, mm-hmm. especially what we have shown in this reference architecture, is on the retailer side, the retailers can basically do all their forecasting within spreadsheets, okay? And once they are done, they can publish that data. And what happens is a workflow kicks in, which captures all the information from the spreadsheets, creates Rosetta Net messages. Rosetta Net is an industry standard for collaboration in high-tech manufacturing industry, and we took the standard as the underlying schema for some of our message transfers. So it takes data from the spreadsheets and creates these Rosetta Net messages and sends them over securely to the manufacturer, where again they are kind of unbundled, and then a spreadsheet comes up for the manufacturer to look at the information of the forecast. So while the retailers and the manufacturer have this seamless experience of dealing with Office clients on both the ends, mm-hmm. underlying there's a lot of things going on that is handled by workflows, that is handled by some of the capabilities in .NET 3 of Framework 3 of. Mm. So this is sort of an example of how the users can use their familiar tools, Office clients, to interact with information on the enterprise side.
Fantastic. And now can both ends make edits to these?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a very good question. What happens is, so they do the forecast, the season starts, but things go wrong. Either the weather changes, and because of seasonality or unexpected demand for certain things, the retailers need to now tweak their forecast, right? And as they do that, there is a role called inventory analyst, if you will, on the retailer side, who's always monitoring whether there are stockouts in certain stores based on the projections of sales and based on the supplies and whatnot. So the inventory analyst, for instance, can do some of this analysis, right? We have shown in the reference architecture that they can do this right in their Outlook window. Mm. So every time there's a stock out, projected stock out, they get an email with a link. They click on the link, it opens up a custom task pane that goes into the particular purchase orders that are related to that potential stock out, and they can make a decision on, hey, you know what, I want to avoid this stock out, so I want to pull in some of the POs. So things that I was expecting to get a month down the road, mm-hmm. I want to get it next week. So once they do that, their edits again get saved, and again a message gets sent. And on the manufacturing side, this is where they see the edits, and they say, hey, this is my favorite customer, I want to meet their requirements here, and they can go and do some analysis on, hey, who are the suppliers who are supplying material for this purchase order, and then they can move suppliers orders from one PO to another and satisfy this customer's request. Mm-hmm. So all this now can be done with SharePoint and Office clients on the front end.
Really cool. So that really kind of leads into the question about where SharePoint fits into this. Clearly, you're leveraging that technology for the server.
Right. So we have created, in this particular example, essentially there's a document library where all these documents like purchase orders and purchase order confirmations, they live in these document libraries. And there are workflows that are associated with these documents in these document libraries that get triggered every time an edit is made. Similarly, there are different forms that people fill out, and the beauty of there are a lot of great things about 2007 Office system, and one of the things I absolutely love is that now to fill out an InfoPath form, you don't need to have an InfoPath. You have the client thin client version where you could create an InfoPath form and publish it to the thin client, and then users can fill out the form without having to have InfoPath installed. So in this particular example, for filling out the purchase orders, we create InfoPath forms for the purchase orders, and we store them in the forms libraries as part of the overall SharePoint server. So it's been great. Working on this has been a very exciting experience
I
for
bet.
us.
Now, were you working pretty closely with customers, obviously, to figure out what they need?
So we have been talking to a very small handful of customers, and we have been asking them, hey, we see your users using essentially having a two-step process. They do stuff in their line of business systems, they bring over data into Excel, they do their analysis and make their decisions here. So we asked them, how can we bridge this gap, if you will? And we got a lot of good input from some of our close customers, and we worked a lot with a handful of partners as well. So this is a great set of applications that our partners can build. Obviously they have the partners who are working very closely in industries like manufacturing, retail, healthcare, who have deep domain expertise. They can now build these Office business applications for specific capabilities in each of these industry verticals using the examples that we have given out in this OBA app.
So how do people get this?
Oh, it's available on MSDN.
Okay.
So the link is, if you go to msdn.com/architecture, there's a page for Office for Architects. You go to that page and you can get links from there. We also have a brand new page for Office business applications for architects. So it's all available on MSDN.
Cool.
They can go download the bids. They can download a set of white papers that explains the overall architecture, that explains the overall process of building these apps. They can download some presentations that walk them through what the end user experience looks like,
Cool.
What the development experience looks like, what are the tools available for developers and architects out there to build these kind of applications.
Excellent.
It's all in there.
Perfect. Well, hey, this is pretty interesting stuff, man. So we'll see what the Niners think,
Sure.
and we'll post the link on there as well.
Great.
And anything else you want to say about this stuff?
Well, I just wanted to say that this new breed of applications, I believe, will create a huge opportunity for our partners to build applications that extends line of business applications that bring the familiarity of Office to the end users. And I encourage our customers, partners, our architects out there to play with this stuff. Give us a lot of feedback.
Outstanding. So yeah, please play with it. Agreed.
Thank you.
Cool. Hey, great to meet you. Nice
Thank
work,
you.
man.
Thanks.